Peace and blessings. My name is Carlos Walker. This is Art and Hustle Black Authors Matter. And today I have Mr. Richard Wilford with me. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, bro. What's happening?
Man, loving life. Hey, so if you will, share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Richard Wilford. I'm in Oceanside, California presently. Um, so I've been here I think, my 6th year. I'm originally from Gary, Indiana. Um, Pastored there 20 years, made a transition out here to California, and been writing for, oh man, I've been writing since 2012 or something like that. But I started with a blog, and then I did a CD recording. Um, then I just started, it just kind of spilled over into writing books. And so this last one is my 5th book, Inside the Mind of a Serial Thinker.
Mm. So let's get into the book.
Yeah.
Share one, why did you create the book?
You know what? One reason why I wrote the book was because I wanted to have a recorded, my work recorded somewhere that somebody else, my children, family, others that come, once we're long gone, that it's recorded somewhere, my original work. And so a book just seems to be a avenue whereby, your presence is still here when you leave. You know what I mean? If not, Carlos, we die with it. You know what I mean? You get what we die with it. And so a book just seems to be the avenue that whereby you can record your thoughts, and it people who come behind you can get a glimpse of what the times were like that we lived in, because we're gonna talk about that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So now let's talk about what the book is about.
The book is actually an entire book of poetry. Somehow, some way, I ended up over in poetry. Now, my other books talk about everything from, I had a son, Angelo Wilford, who in high school, he got cancer. It was called histiocytic sarcoma. He was one of 2 people in the country who got this form of cancer. And some of my books talk about just our journey going through his cancer, and some of the things that I was thinking and going through while we were there in the hospital, going through that whole journey. And he battled for 3 years, and he went on to be with the Lord. But we had some really high times, some low times. So just where I was and going through that. And then I wrote a book about living without a limp. And
Sound like Joseph. I mean, not Joseph. Yeah. Not Joseph. Give me a second. Jacob.
Yeah. You see, Light and Darkness was a book where I talked about even in darkness, there's light. So I don't care how dark a situation is, there's always some light in it. And so I talked about some of the things that we went through in that. And then once he passed, I wrote a book about living without a limp, which talks about how we navigated through, because I had a daughter with me, how we navigated. Well, I got 2 daughters actually, but one was a baby. How we navigated through his life after, because we had a situation where after he had passed, I didn't move anything in his room for a while. And one day I went outside and I came back in, and my daughter was in the bathroom. I said, "What are you doing in the bathroom?" And she said, "Well, I just thought I'd wait in here." And it made me think about, to a child, his room, for me, out of respect for him, I'm keeping things the same.
It's like a shrine.
It's a continual reminder. So it said to me, I got to do something different. So I talked about it in the book. What do we do? Most time when people, there is the book here, Living Without a Limp. When people go through something, you can tell they've been through something because they have like a limp.
Mm-hmm.
And we know people who have lost loved ones that never recovered, man. Just never recovered. They always seem like they're stuck in that time zone. So I wanted to live my life in a way that brings honor to his life. So I talk about, how can you bring honor? You can mourn a person, a loved one being gone, but how can you honor them
Mm-hmm.
in a way that it doesn't just not just destroy your life and stop your progress and forward motion in your life. And so I just talk about some things about that. How do we live without a limp? And so we come up with some ideas, some originally mine, and some that I get from other people. You know, one in particular was a guy said to me, you know, at some point you got to take all that stuff down in respect. But he said, get a trunk, put some of the special things in it and put it in the trunk. That way, and keep the trunk nearby. That way, when you want to go back and revisit, you could just simply go and open the trunk. And
Mm-hmm.
sure enough, about a year after my son had passed, my daughter said, because I kept the trunk in my room, I kept a few pictures up, but I kept everything else we got rid of. We changed the room around and everything. But she said, can I go look at the trunk? In the trunk? I
Mm-hmm.
said, sure. So a year later, she went in the room. We opened the trunk. She was able to look at some things. She's like, smell her sweatshirt, says, it reminds me of him. Can I keep the t-shirt? So it did what it was supposed to do. So it's about how to live after you lose a loved one so that you don't limp or your life is, because my thing was, if I passed before my son, I used to say, I would be disappointed if he went on to be a drunk, drug addict, a bum, not productive, and if he used my death as an excuse not to produce in life, move on. So my thing is, how can we honor our loved ones in a way that brings honor to them? And sure enough, this interview, sharing with you, and thank you for the invitation, Carlos, because it gives me the opportunity to talk about how do I bring honor to him by continuing to do good and great things that I could talk about his life, bless my life as my sons. You feel what I'm saying?
So I'm gonna give you something that I watched this movie. It's called Saint Vincent.
Okay.
Bill Murray plays in it. And
Okay.
in this movie, I learned some. God gave me an intuition about something. He said, in this movie, the man's wife had passed, and this little kid that he had started babysitting came over there, and he said, "Sorry for your condolences." And the man said, "Why do people always say they sorry or
Mm-hmm.
sorry for your loss or something to that nature? Why don't they get to know the person through the
Yeah.
person?" So I quit and I started doing something. I started asking people, tell me something that inspires you
Look at that.
and that will inspire you for the rest of your life from this person. And ever since I started doing that, I met a lot of people. And every time I do it, I watch people's head go up because
Yes,
they
sir.
start remembering nothing but the good things. When you tell
Yeah.
somebody sorry for your loss or condolences, the head go down. They get to thinking about, man, I just
The
lost
loss.
something.
The
You
loss.
ain't lose nothing. You was blessed with somebody.
Come on.
Yes, God may have said, I need this person back
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they've done everything on earth that I called them to do. But when you think about the inspiration of that person, it should lift you up. And you should, to your point, you should be willing to share that person with the world.
Yes, sir.
And it changes everything. So I do want to ask you that question. Tell me something that will inspire, that inspires you, and that will continue to inspire you from him.
Man, well, you talking to the right one, and I think your philosophy about that is totally correct. Because just like when you asked me, I'm waiting on the question. Man, you talking about a strong person. You're talking about faith in action. People talk faith all day. I have a sermon called "Faith for What." People talk about faith all day long. You talking about a person who lived it. You have not lived. You ain't been through enough where you had to even exercise no real faith. But
Mm.
man, when you have had over 60, 70 blood transfusions, when you've had your spleen removed, you've had bone marrow transplants, you
They said
had
they talk like that's one of the hardest ones because they
yeah,
drawing, yeah.
that whole thing, you bone marrow transplants, you've had just a series of all of these things, and yet you keep on, you get back up and you keep rolling. I always tell people when hospice used to come by our house, I used to just lean over the balcony and say, he ain't here.
Mm.
Because he was in the street. He'd be in the car, he been dressed up, matched his stuff up, and getting the ride, he hanging out with his boys somewhere. I'm like, He was just not the, he was a strong dude. I always tell the story. One day I was looking for him. When we got out of the hospital, because his white blood cells were so low, the blood wouldn't clot. They couldn't do anything else for him. They packed his nose from here. The entire nasal cavity, of course, goes way up here. So they packed it all with blood. So which means he couldn't breathe out his nose. I'm looking for him. He's hanging out, man. He's out with his friends. He's inspired. This guy went to radio stations, churches. He did a video that's still on YouTube. Then it was 4.1 million views. He did it himself. Traveled radio stations. He inspired young people and adults along, man. So for me, a great inspiration of how to keep going in the midst of struggle, heartache, disappointment, pain. He never, and we had a campaign called "Don't Complain." His thing was, don't complain because there's always somebody else doing worse than you.
There's a cartoon, well, it was a little newspaper clipping, and it was a guy. He was he was on a bike, and in front of him was a guy in a car, and he said, "Man, I wish I had that car." It was a guy looking at the guy on the bike, and he said, "Man, I wish I had that bike." And it was a guy in a wheelchair looking down, saying, "Man, I wish I had legs," because the other guy was walking.
Come
And
on.
what I realized from all of this, neither one of them was paying attention to what they had, which was life. They was too busy looking at somebody else wanting what they had instead of realizing what they actually had. And
Come
all
on.
of them was still living in spite of. They were still blessed. And to
Yes,
your
sir.
point, he actually knew how blessed he was
Man.
just with the life that he was given. And
Yeah.
he went and he enjoyed and he inspired others.
Others. He did, brother. And to watch that now, for me, for my family, for my loved ones, and so many people who have, we still get calls, and we talk about almost 8 to 10 years later, bro. I'm still getting calls from people. If I post a picture of him, it goes up to over 1,000 views, man. He is still, his impact is still present in the world today, and those who have met him. And so many people didn't get a chance to meet him, but they all called, they all texted, and say, "Man, it seemed like I didn't meet him, but it seemed like I knew him because he had such a he was a I used to say he was a rock star in intensive care, bro. I don't know nobody where people would travel from different states to come and take a picture with him while he was in intensive care, because he had just that kind of impact. So for me, man, it makes me say, you cannot quit. You got to, my thing is I can no longer do regular, typical, normal things. I have to do extraordinary, above and beyond, great, spectacular. I owe that to me. I owe that to him. I owe that to my children and family, man. You know, we called to this, bro. You
You
know,
owe
so
that to God.
yeah, so we got to do it to the glory of God, man. We got to do it. So yeah, so he has inspired me like that.
So I do want to ask you, we'll get to the other books,
Yeah.
but your first book, share
Mhm.
something that you, I don't know what you went through, but I heard that you went through something. Share something in that book that how you overcame. Because according to the Bible, it says, and what is it, Revelations 12 and 11, and they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and
The
by the
word of
word
the
of their testimony.
yes,
And
sir. Yes,
it's your story. You chose to write this book to show
yes.
people that they can overcome by
Yeah.
listening to your testimony, but to let them realize that they even have one.
Yes, sir. And everybody has a testimony. Everybody goes through, and everybody has a testimony. Sorry, man, I'm trying to get my thing right. Everybody has a testimony. I wrote this book because I used to say it gave me a way out. I was in the hospital. You know, when you're in the hospital, and shout out to and prayers for caregivers. You know, the patient, of course, is a number one, but we got to give some love and support to people who are caregivers, man. There are people who are sitting there. I used to sit beside his bed, and my goal was, I just want to be there. When we found out he had cancer, I said to him, I can't change any of that. But one thing I can do is I can be here as best I can for you. And I said to him, you cannot change what happens to you, but you possess the power and always have. possess the power within you to control how you respond.
Come on.
You cannot control what happens. Stuff comes, but you always have the power. It's one thing with one key thing in the book, you always have the power to control how you respond. And so my way of responding was, in spite of it, to find the good in all of the bad. You have some good days and some bad days, and to be able to write, to be able to express, to emote, to be able to write how you feel, because it's going to help somebody at some point who's going through what you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think what you do is great. Your podcast here it's a blessing, because somebody's going to go through and somebody's going to turn this on, and the things that you have shared on your page and all of that, it's going to help somebody. So yeah. And there's light and darkness. That's the name of the book, light and darkness. You cannot control what happens to you, but you control and always possess the power.
That's another one of your books, Light and Darkness.
Yeah, Light and Darkness. Yeah.
Talk about that one.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Light and Darkness.
One.
Another book is living. The first book is Light and Darkness.
Okay.
The second book is Living Without a Limp after he passed.
Okay. And your third one?
Yeah. The third book is Contemplation. It's called Contemplation. It's called The Power of Thought. And here's my point. We have not even scratched the surface of what great things we have within us. Within us. Man, when you turn down the distraction, the volumes of everything outside, and turn what I call inwardly, and begin to give some thought to your own creativity, man. God has blessed you with some gifts and talents and abilities. And I always say, man, you've been to enough. Well, here's my story as it comes out in the book. One day I went to about 5 brand new movies, man. And all of them, I either fell asleep or walked out of the show. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Why am I tripping like this? And it came to me, and I recorded it on Facebook, my feelings. I said, let me tell y'all where I'm at. And I said, listen, if you can watch a movie, you can direct a movie or create a movie.
Come on now.
If you can buy a CD, you can record one. If you can read a book, and bro, I promise you, I should have owned stock in Barnes and Noble by now, bro. I used to be an avid reader, bro. So I was, my money was going to Barnes and Noble. But if I could read a book, then I can write a book. And from that day forward, I started saying to myself, I am going to. I say to people, to women, I say, you done bought enough bridesmaid dresses. You done been to enough book signings. You done been to enough business openings. You have supported we buy everybody. We buy stuff from the boosters, CDs, sweat socks. We buy meat. We buy everything from everybody. We support everybody, bro.
Come on.
At some point, you got to turn inwardly and say, what is my contribution to this world? What did God put me here for? And what's my contribution to make a difference in other people's lives? And then let's see if all of those people will come and surround and support me as well. But you gotta turn inwardly to do it. And it all starts with taking some time to sit and think, man. Look inwardly. Why am I here? Them age-old questions. Why am I here? Why did God create me here? What's my goals? What do I want to contribute to this world? Mine is in literature, ministry, literature, it's in family, and in music. Those are the 4 areas. I want my name to land in those 4 areas. And from that point, I did a music CD. This is my 5th book, family, and what else? What's the other? Literature. Yeah, but all of these, but my aim is, and in ministry, I pastored 20 years, still preaching. But and if the Lord say the same, we'll pastor again. But if not, we keep on doing what we're doing. But yeah, so that's what it helped me to do, man. You turn inwardly, man. You got to start working. God didn't just call us to be supporters, man. To support, we should support, but He have not just called us to support everybody. If you feel what I'm saying. Oh, hello. Okay, you back? We set?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, God did not call us to just, we're supposed to support people. We're supposed to help people's visions be realized. but then God has blessed you with something too. You know, my life cannot be just me just serving unto. Serving is right, but I also have to look and see what is my purpose and my calling, and do that which He's called me to do as well. And like I said, and you can spend your life doing everything for everybody else, following everybody else's dream. And I heard somebody say, either you follow your dream or you spend your life working for somebody else who had the faith to follow theirs.
Mm-hmm. Who had to, hold on, back, who had to what?
Who had the faith to follow theirs.
The Bible says the just shall live by faith.
Live by faith, right? Without God, it is impossible to please God without faith.
Look, that is the biggest thing. And God, being it is Black History Month, what did Reverend Martin Luther King said? He says faith is taking the step, even though you don't see the staircase. Look,
Right.
it's not meant for you to see the staircase. I have never seen God tell you everything that He's going to do. He just give you a glimpse of it and tell you to trust Him.
Yes, sir.
But that is what life is about. It's not about knowing everything. It's about us taking whatever, or to your point, it says your gift will make room for you and put you before great men. You just named everything that your gift is in. And what you have chosen to do was put your gift out there. And what God has did, your gift made room, or is making room, and is putting you before great men and women that they may be able to hear, see, and be inspired by the gift that God gave you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, listen, I prayed 2 prayers. Before I left India and came here, I prayed, Lord, stretch me beyond my own recognition of myself and burn my house down so I cannot retreat back to it in tough times. Stretch me, because the person that I was could not handle what He was preparing me for. So He has to stretch you. And I tell people, you can't control the stretch. You can't tell God what to stretch me over here. You got to let Him stretch you. And when He stretches you, you will look different to you.
You're going to
And
look different to everybody else.
you will say, I walked past the mirror one day, I said, I don't know this dude. And I'm like, that's good, because I'm no longer what I was, but He's preparing me for what He has for me. I could never do the things I did 10 years ago. What I do now, I couldn't do it 10 years ago, because that person
Didn't
could
have
not.
the ability. They wasn't stretched enough. I
Right.
always use a balloon to
Oh, me too. That's
explain
my
that.
the balloon.
So a balloon just look like it's just a little piece of rubber until you blow some air in it. Then you get to know the expansion of what this can take. And to be honest, what we're balloons that don't pop.
Yes, sir.
Some people, they don't realize that, don't allow the emotion to push you to the edge, because it's just an emotion that'll go away. But you're being stretched for the expansion of who you are, and they allow the emotion to make them say, oh, I can't do it. Yes, you can. As they said, God don't put too much on you that you can bear. It's meant to be heavy because you can take it.
You'll never know. You'll never know until you allow Him to stretch. I use the same example with the balloon when I talk about stretching. I said, you ain't never seen an instruction anywhere on how to blow up a balloon. But all of us know that you got to stretch the thing first. You got to have some elasticity in it first before you put in it what He has for you. If not, it's too much and blow you. If you're rigid and stiff, you blow up. It's you gotta be flexible. That's why my second prayer is, and has been, Lord, if you open the door,
I walk through.
I'm going through the door without question. And right now, to this date, I live by that. When you said about the interview, give me 10 minutes, because whatever door God opens for me, I am going through the door. I'm not arguing. I'm not questioning. I'm not saying, Lord, you need to have this in place and that. No, I'm not doing it.
I want what God wants for me, not what I want for myself.
Come on, I don't know what to want for me. You know what I mean? And if I do, I dream too small.
Because you got to remember, Jeremiah 29:11, one of my favorite. I know the plans I have towards you. Just God telling you, I know, look, I got plans for you.
I
Not
know.
your plans, but I got plans for you.
Yes,
Not to harm you. You gonna feel like that stretching is
yeah,
gonna feel like harm.
it's gonna hurt.
But it's for prosperity and an expected end. The little harm that you think that you feel, it ain't to harm you. It's for something greater. But
Yes,
I
sir.
need you to be able to do one thing: trust that the plan that I got for you.
Yes, sir.
Your next book.
Yes, sir. The next book is uh, the next book is called "What to Do When It's Not Your Turn."
Mm,
Called "What to Do When It's Not Your Turn." It's more of an upward mobility book. It's about we live in a world where people undermine, lie, cheat, backstab to get ahead.
mhm.
What to do when it's not your turn. So it talks about, here's some things I talk about David. Saul was on the throne. David was anointed king, but he didn't take the kingdom. 15, 20 years later, he finally got on the throne. So the
Good
question
job.
was, what did he do while he was waiting for his turn?
He waited patiently.
I
He
talk
waited.
about, I got about 5 P's. One thing I say is when we were in elementary school, the teacher would say, everybody can go out for water. Everybody would run out to the water faucet. We knocking each other down to get in a single file line. We tripping. And I said, here's some things about the water faucet that is still true about God's blessings and prosperity. Number one is enough water for everybody.
Good God.
Ain't that a word, man? There's enough water for it, which means we don't have to compete. Man, let me give you kudos for what you're doing, man, because you're sharing your platform. See, my pastor used to say, I can help you because I'm not intimidated by you.
Come on now.
We not competing.
Mm-mm.
We don't have to compete. You know why? I ain't got to fight you, trick you up, trip you, lie to you, talk about you, make people think bad things about you, because there's enough water for him. There's enough power for all I want is my slice, baby.
Come on now. And I'm gonna get it because it was promised to me.
It's my slice. So I don't have to fight for my slice. You know, I told you there's enough room for water for everybody. And I said, if you're patient, number one, there's enough water for everybody. Number two, if you wait patiently, your turn will come. While you're waiting, what are you gonna do? Celebrate other people.
Praise.
Man, the person that's getting water, we always hurry up, let that man drink. You
It's
know
enough
why?
water.
When my turn come to drink,
I'm gonna drink.
don't bother me. Let me drink. I waited patiently. Man, God, that hits me, man. Almost make me want to cry. Because you look at the work you've done and how long you work with your head down, and you watch the wicked prosper and others get ahead, and you down struggling, man. But know that one day your turn's gonna come.
I promise.
There's enough water for everybody. If you wait patiently, your turn gonna come. And then the other thing I say is, if you're impatient, you either get two things. You either get put in the back of the line,
Mm-hmm.
or the teacher tell you go sit down. You can't have no water out.
Because you're too
And
frustrated.
and I said maybe the reason why life is not prospering for you is because you too impatient to wait. You know what's doing you wait. I care. Keep on praying. Keep on praying, keep on worshiping God, keep on creating, keep on dreaming. Don't quit your day job. Don't quit your day job. Keep on working, keep on wondering, keep on worshiping, and your turn is gonna come. And when your turn come, don't rush it. That's like a hand of spades, bro. You know, you get a big hand. We televise it. We got the card up here. We talking look, we
And you
doing
get a
like
bad
this.
hand.
Bam, bam, bam. And next thing you know, the hand is over because you rushed your hand. Take your time and enjoy the hand. Enjoy it, man. You know, and so I talk what to do when it's not your turn. Wait on God. Your turn is going to come. Your turn is going, man, that's a word for somebody, man. Your turn is going to come. If you wait patiently, learn to celebrate other people, man. That's what that kills us as black people. We don't know how to celebrate, man. We don't know how to celebrate. We don't, man. Again, kudos to you, bro. We don't know how to celebrate. We only want people to celebrate us. We don't know how to celebrate other people.
And you're supposed to celebrate everybody.
You can when you know there's nothing about what's going on in my life that's going to hinder yours.
I
Man,
also
everybody.
I also heard whenever you are in a room and somebody get blessed, celebrate them because guess what? When you're in the room where the blessing is occurring, So that means you're also next in line.
It's just Shirley Caesar right up next in line.
But you gotta know that you're next in line. And if I'm this close to the blessing, guess what? That means, hey, I know I'm in line to get blessed. But if I ain't in the room where blessings are occurring, I need to move and get in the line or get somewhere where blessings are occurring. I
Yes,
need to
sir.
find another group so I can learn how to be a blessing, but so God can also bless me.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
before we leave, because I don't want to hold you up all day, I need
Good.
a few things. I need you to tell me, give me a word of wisdom for somebody who maybe going through some needs something, who need to hear a word from God. And then last, share everywhere you can that they can purchase your books and your Instagram and handles so they can reach out to you.
Okay. If I could share with anything, anybody, if there's any claim to fame in where I feel I am right now, in and I feel like I'm in a good space as it relates to creativity, is know that you are what the Bible says. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. God didn't make a mistake. He didn't break the mold. When he made you, he broke the mold. There's only one you. There's nobody else like you. There's nobody be like you after you. So take confidence in learning to love what God made and created. That's you. That is the foundation on which everything else stands, because it's hard to do these things, get up and get out in public, to talk, to be on stage, to do all these other and share with other people when you don't love yourself. You got to love who God made. Love you first, appreciate, love, like, get along with you. That you have to do. Love what God made and know that God didn't make no man. Listen, I tell people, right, my creativity is not just about who I am today. It includes all of my childhood stuff. It includes everything I watched, all the cartoons,
Mm-hmm.
Bugs Bunny. It includes the Jeffersons, I Dream of Jeannie. You name it, all of it is a whole. You are the
The
sum
collective.
total of where you've been and all your experiences. So you don't have to downplay anything. I am the sum total of all my highs and all my lows, bro. I've had some high highs and I've had some low lows. I just learning to take them all and use them to God's glory, man. So I just want to encourage somebody. You all right? Just to find out who you are and live and walk within that. Find your inner voice. Turn turn the volume of all these other distractions down so you can get along with God and learn who you are and be you. And those that love you, and those who don't, they won't anyway.
No, they learn to love you because even your enemies, they have a love for how you keep getting up. They start looking at you and saying, "Man, this guy won't die. This
Yeah.
guy, what is it in him that he keep getting up?"
Yeah.
If you've ever seen boxing matches and you've seen a guy getting pummeled, and somehow they still overcome and still end up winning, the person that was doing the pummeling love them. And look, they have high esteem
Yes,
for
sir.
how they overcame.
Yes, sir.
For our community, being at this Black History Month, for our community at large, we have took pummeling,
Yeah.
but these people really started realizing that, hey, they can't be beat. It's got to be something about them that God put in them that make them keep, or as the Bible said about the children of Israel, the more that they was oppressed, the more that they grew. That
Yes,
is
sir.
us. We have grown to an extent that only God could be with us. And I understand some people may not be able to see how God has been with us, but they should also be able to look and watch everything that we have done and everything that we are doing and be inspired.
Man, we just get better. The more you push us down, the more we come back up. Everything you took away from us, everything you get, they look back, they gave us the worst of the foods. We turn it into cuisines.
Look,
We love it. The less of stuff you give us, the more we go to work and figure out how to make this work. And we end up having patterns that blow their mind.
so
So it's our history. We have a rich history.
man, we are rich and don't realize it.
Truly rich history.
Last thing, share where they can purchase your books, because hey, I do want y'all to go buy every one of his books. Make
Okay.
sure that you purchase these books. You'll be inspired.
Okay. All of my books are on Barnes and Noble and uh, Amazon. All of them are there. My last book, book of poetry, Inside the Mind of a Serial Thinker, is I have at richardewilfordbooks.com. richardewilfordbooks.com. So if you order through that link, then I'll send an autograph, signed signature of it, and mail it out to you with a little gift along with that as well. But other than that, uh, Barnes and Noble, and
Amazon.
Amazon, the books are there. Yeah.
I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for the word of wisdom
Yes,
through it
sir.
all, because it wasn't just at the end, it was the entire process. Thank you for being willing to share your journey
Yes, sir.
about what you went through, because as the Bible says, and they overcame by the
Okay.
blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Seeing you overcome and help somebody else overcome their struggles and the things that they've been through. And I'm just grateful that God has allowed us.
Yes,
We
sir.
we didn't we wasn't able to write and read at one point,
Yes,
but
sir.
if you go and look now, there's more Black writers and readers that have ever been in the history of this land. And I'm grateful for it. Continue to keep writing and inspiring, making music and inspiring. I love you, and I appreciate everything that you have done and everything that you're doing. And may Yahweh continue to bless you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Nice.
Yes, sir.